Hello, friends! Oh my god, Ian's doing a craft video. It's crazy. It's the end of times. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Uh, why is someone who only has like a year and a bit of writing experience making a craft video? Well, it seemed to me that you haven't had enough of stupid old white guys telling you what to do. So, here we go again. It's like, it's like all of history. We're doing POVs. Honestly, I was doing a little bit of research recently and making this video, it really just helps me cement my own knowledge on the subject and doing a bunch of beta reading and reading some other stuff on the side and writing my own books. Like I've picked up on some things that I feel should be addressed, not specifically, not the people, but I'm just saying the, do's and do not do's when dealing with POV. And I even came up with a new one while thinking about all of this that I don't think you've ever heard of before. And I would love to see a book written in it, and I might even do it. En tout cas. So it's going to be a whiteboard day. Let's get into it. Ian's ultimate guide to POVs. Okay, so here we are on the whiteboard. We're going to start off with first person POV. I, me, my, we, and our. And then I need first person, I need my players. Here we go. We got Fletcher, Grace, but you don't know Grace's name. That's why I slightly grayed that out. And we have Sam, who is the first person point of view. I woke to find myself on the floor of a cell. That would be Sam's voice. Fletcher and Grace were whispering by the far wall. Where are we? I croaked, my throat dry. Fletcher side-eyed me. He considered carefully before responding, finally stating, we thought you'd know. Okay, well, all of this is crap. You can't say any of this, basically. Where's the button I click on? There, boom. Okay, so one, and this is just because I made this up, if you don't actually know this person's name, you can't name them. Okay, that seems pretty obvious. So we can't name Grace because we don't know Grace's name. The other thing is, not necessarily the he side-eyed me, but Fletcher considered carefully before responding. You as a first person character can't know that Fletcher considered something carefully. You can't be in his head. Or her. I don't know what Fletcher is. You can't be in their head. Okay? This considered carefully? No, that's a no-go. So, what's the solution to that? Do. I woke to find myself on the floor of a cell. Fletcher and a woman I didn't recognize were whispering by the far wall. Where are we? I croaked, my throat dry. Fletcher side-eyed me. He appeared to be considering the question carefully and finally responded, we thought you'd know. It's subtle, but you can say that he appeared to be considering it because that's your Sam interpretation of whatever the hell facial expressions Fletcher was making as he, mulled that over. But you can't say that he actually considered it because you don't know that. You weren't in his head. Okay, that one's pretty easy. We have another first person example. Boom. First person continued. Oh, now there's a wall. Okay, see this black line? There's a wall. And the point of view triangle thing is pulled back a little bit. We'll pretend it's a bathroom because, this is Ian's channel and everything's gross. The breakfast burrito was in no way agreeing with me. Can they hear me? God, I hope not. Fletcher whispered in Grace's ear. That is not the most pleasant of aromas. Grace thought back to her time dealing with army latrines. It'll pass, she said. Like it sounds perfectly reasonable, but you can't do any of this shit. Well, we'll bring up all our red things, okay? Fletcher whispered in Grace's ear. Okay, this person, Sam, the first person point of view, is hidden behind a wall. You can't see what Fletcher's doing. Also, if Fletcher whispered, you can't hear it from over here. And if this was like a big dance hall or something, no matter what they said at the other end of the hall, you wouldn't be able to hear it. You have to be really cognizant of where your first person character is physically to know what they'd be able to see and hear. You can't write it otherwise. Grace thought back to her time dealing with Army latrines. You can't know what Grace was thinking. Okay, it'll pass, she said. Well, no, you can't hear her either. So there's all that. What do we got for the doo-doo? Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. What is that? Oh, look, we've got arrows and everything. The breakfast burrito is in no way agreeing with me. Can they hear me? God, I hope not. I couldn't see Fletcher or Grace, but I could imagine their reactions if they heard me. Revulsion. They hate me. Okay, and then just little notes. So the narrative follows the past or present from the rest of the story. If the story was written in present tense, then the narrative would be in present tense. If it's past, it's past. But inner thoughts, they hate me. Can they hear me? God, I hope not. Those are always in present tense, no matter what, even if the story is written in past. First person, omniscient. Here's a POV I bet you didn't even know existed. First person, come on. Okay, first person, omniscient. Fletcher, Grace, Sam, and a godlike being. God, devil, death, or person who's acting like they know everything about a story. This is something no one ever mentions. The person who is acting like they know everything about a story. It could be, one of those like fishing tales or like a war story where it's someone usually older or maybe boisterous, but telling a story as if they knew what everyone was thinking. You can get away with that in an omniscient. So there we go. Let's see some text. Come on. Do not do. Fletcher's gaze ping-ponged between Grace and Sam. One of these two is responsible. Grace was annoyed. Why do they think it's me? Sam raised an eyebrow, thinking it would show that she too was mulling over the situation. I watched and waited. So it's first person omniscient, so that's why there's the I watched and waited. But this is wrong. Why is this wrong? Oh, all of it's wrong, apparently. Leave it to me to write an entire thing that's wrong. Fletcher's gaze ping-ponged between Grace and Sam. One of these two is responsible. Oh, it's all wrong. Sorry, I had to remember why I had it as all wrong. Because that's not how omniscient works. This is more like a lazy person's third. Like where they want to know what's in everyone's head and they're just bouncing around and they're calling an omniscient to get away with it. But none of that's right. Omniscient has to be told from a strong narrator's point of view. It has to be a character. This godlike thing has to actually be a character that's telling the story. And I'll give the example of that so that you know what I'm talking about. Do. I had given a taste of hell to millions before. They all react the same. Grace was busy thinking about escape. Fletcher was looking for someone to blame, and Sam, well, I'd planted in her the seed she'd actually done it. It's amusing to see them squirm. So the narrator is telling the story from their perspective. They know all, but it's filtered through their understanding of the characters. So if you don't have a strong narrator telling the story, you can't bounce around with people. You just can't do it. Doesn't matter if you call it omniscient or not. Doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? I'm not gatekeeping here. The POV is gatekeeping, not me. Because it won't make sense to readers. It'll just feel like you're sloppy and you're not being clear about things. And it also helps to have these constraints so that you can write sharper stories. This just bopping around all over the place, it's not controlled enough. It'll seem like you don't have control over your story. Now we're doing second person. Apparently in this example, Fletcher and Grace's names aren't actually known, and this is you instead of Sam. Awesome. Second person. Do not do. Second person uses you, your, and yours. As you approach the two farmers, Fletcher nods and Grace curtsies. Fletcher knows who you are by reputation. Grace is merely intimidated. You nod back. Being a lord is a heavy burden, but it's yours to bear. Okay, well, that's wrong because you don't actually know their names. I know I invented that, but you don't know their names, and it's important to cover that aspect. Also, Fletcher knows who you are by reputation. Grace is merely intimidated. You can't know this. You're you. You don't know, even if you knew their friggin' names, you don't know what Fletcher knows. You don't know why Grace is doing anything. But you can interpret. So let's look at the way to clean that up. As you approach the two farmers, the male nods. The female curtsies, but she does so while looking at the male. You're not convinced she knows why she's doing it. You nod back. Being a lord is a heavy burden, but it's yours to bear. So, I mean, this isn't the world's greatest prose, but the point is, you approach two farmers because you don't know their names, so they're just two farmers. The male nods. It's, I don't know, the only thing you can pick out. The female curtsies, but she does so while looking at the male, which, given your personal experience, makes you not convinced that she knows why she's doing it. This is perfectly legitimate. Pretending like you know what's in their head is not. Second person is mostly for like choose your own adventure books and some experimental things. There are books that do it, but like in my experience, it was mostly the choose your own adventure. It works really well in that. Bagunk, bagunk, bagunk. This is third person close or limited. He, she, they, his, hers, and theirs. And we got our players back. That's great. Do not do. Okay. This is very Canadian. Sam hated non-traditional beaver tales. Goo running everywhere from strawberry jam or Nutella or whatever nonsense they'd spread on. Give me cinnamon, lemon juice, and sugar. That's all I ask. Grace and Fletcher felt her frustration. They too wanted simplicity. Grace thought back to the time she'd ordered a poutine. It had come with pulled pork, onions, and barbecue sauce. The fuck is this? She said. Grace and Fletcher felt her frustration. They too wanted simplicity. You can't say that because you can't know. You're Sam in this case, okay? Third person close is about Sam and how Sam sees the world. And it can only be what Sam knows. Sam doesn't know what Grace and Fletcher are thinking or feeling or anything. So there's none of this like nodded in frustration or I don't know, whatever. Nothing, absolutely nothing that gives away what they're thinking or any motivation. Sam can't know any of that. Sam can interpret, but Sam can't know that. Grace thought back to the time she'd ordered a poutine. You can't know what Grace is thinking. Okay? When you're in third person close, you can't know what other people are thinking. It's only what Sam knows via observation. So how do we fix that? Okay, the top's the same. Grace and Fletcher appeared to sense her frustration. Grace and Fletcher appeared to sense her frustration. So we're talking about Sam, and we're saying that these two sensed her frustration, but we're saying that they appeared to sense her frustration. That's perfectly valid because Sam is interpreting that. She doesn't know, it appears. They too perhaps wanted simplicity, a plain old beaver tail and poutine of just cheese curd, hot as the sun gravy and fries with a tiny bit of ketchup. I had to add that because I like a tiny bit of ketchup with my poutine. Why must everything be augmented past its perfect state? Some interiority. Okay. Third's kind of easy. Third close is kind of easy. You just have to remember that nothing that gives away what other people are thinking or what their motivations are is allowed. Nothing. Like Grace stopped to think for a moment. No. Just Grace stopped. You don't know why she stopped. You can guess. You can say Grace stopped. She was perhaps thinking about the moment, but but you can't know. So you can't actually state it as a fact. Everything has to be like observation, appeared to be. Blah blah blah. Okay, we move on. What's the next one? Third omniscient. This is like the tricky one because we've got a godlike person again. God, devil, death, person who's acting like they know everything about the story. This keeps popping into my mind, but I haven't actually read The Princess Bride. I've just watched the movie. It feels like, to me, this could be like the old man. Let's pretend like he wasn't actually reading the book, but he was just telling the story. I could imagine that the old man with his grandchild could just like make up what all of these people were thinking. And that would be perfectly valid in this situation. It could also be, again, the guy telling war stories, or it can actually be a god or a devil or, death, the person. But again, it doesn't work unless it's a strong narration. It has to be this character telling the story about these people. You can't just use this as an excuse to go in here and like bounce around between all these people's heads because you really want to know what everyone's thinking. It doesn't work. It's not allowed. Don't do it. The POV says it's not allowed, not Ian. Ian also says it's not allowed, quite firmly, actually. Let's look at some text. Fletcher. Fletcher was worried about the baggage retrieval system they've got at Heathrow. That's a song. But anyway, he smiled to himself. What's that guy got to smile about? Grace pondered. Sam, thinking back to 2 hours ago, remained concerned about the CFM of the bathroom fan. They'd better not still be thinking about that. And yeah, we get this little arrow here. It says head hopping. This is head hopping. Okay, so Fletcher was worried. That's thinking about the thing. He smiled to himself. I mean, that could be witnessed externally, but the worried, that's a no-go. What's that guy got to smile about? That's because it's in italics. That's interiority. You can't have that. And Grace pondered. You can't have that. You don't know what she's thinking. I understand that you think you can do that because it's omniscient, but wait till we see the do. And then Sam thinking back to 2 hours ago, whatever, and then they give some, I give some interiority here. This is just laziness. It's just hopping around. There's no narrator in here. There's no nothing. That's not how it's done. That's not omniscient. That's laziness. Rawr! Let's see the right way. Look, exit all out. There you go. Okay, click the next thing. Do. After hours in this cell, the three of them had begun to unravel. Fletcher amused himself with memories of old comedy bits. Grace, with a deepening skepticism, kept a watchful eye on the other two, and Sam, ever the worrier, fretted off to one side. They had all had enough. The narrator is, or narrator, whatever you want to say, is telling the story with a strong voice, and he's talking about the three people, he or she. So, Fletcher amused himself with memories of old comedy bits. He's speaking in general about what Fletcher's thinking without getting into specifics. I suppose you could, but that's not the point of him saying this, he or she. This narrator is just giving an overview of the situation and going person to person. It's in no way the same as this head hopping nonsense that you had before, where you were just trying to go between people telling everything that existed there. There's no narrator in this do not do bit. It's just head hopping. This is exactly the same as first person omniscient, except the narrator doesn't identify themselves. Okay, now here's where things get weird. There are more POVs. Woo! We'll go to the fourth one. This one actually I read on Readsy. I don't really know how this works, but here we are. Fourth person, which is we. We, us, our, and ours. Well, I do know how it works. I've just never read a book in it. Everyone's just called we. So I kind of had to invent the do not do. We awaken to find ourselves on the floor of a cell. Neither Sam nor Grace know why we're here. There's talk. Each gives their opinion on the situation, but no conclusion is reached. I mean, that's pretty obvious because you're not actually supposed to name these people. Right? Yeah, none of it's good. Do. We awaken to find ourselves on the floor of a cell. None of us know why we're there or who has brought us. Discussion proves fruitless. Ours is a fate unknown. It's not bad for a paragraph or two, but I can't imagine carrying a whole book in this POV with just we. But you can try it. That sounds like fun. So that's the fourth one. Now, the fifth one, I just invented. I have never seen it anywhere, and I came up with it on the spot. And I dare you to write a book in it. You ready? Hold on. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Up we go. The fifth POV. One. Oh, there's crazy flora and stuff. One. You can only say one. This entire story would be a hypothetical. One goes here, one does that. It's not concrete, it's hypothetical. It's exploring ideas without the thing actually occurring. Let's see some text. Do not do. I mean, obviously I made this up because I've never seen anyone write in this before. One awakens to find oneself on the floor of a cell. Two other ones are nearby. They chitter. One's reality in this moment is the cell. Its polished, unheated concrete floor is what's real. The chittering is not. A dripping sound comes. Water? Does one or another require water? Ideally, yes. Exploration, then. One rises to the task. Because no one's ever heard this before, this might sound legitimate, but it's actually kind of crappy. So we'll X out some stuff, namely this. You can't say the two other ones, because that's not the point of this POV. The point of this POV is one. You don't actually acknowledge. Okay, we'll play the play. We'll do the other text. One awakens to find oneself on the floor of a cell. One may be with others. One may be alone. One never knows. The reality in this moment is the cell. Its polished, unheated concrete floor is what's real. A dripping sound is heard. Water? Does one require water? Ideally, yes. Exploration, then. One rises to the task. It's an experimental POV with mostly hypotheticals. It might be a little hoity-toity, but it might just be a fun experiment. I mean, you don't have to write like a whole 100,000-word novel in it. You could write, 1,000 or 2,000 word short story in it if you want to, or nothing. I mean, like, no one's even going to watch this video. No, no one cares. I invented a new POV. You're welcome. All right, so there you go. Not so short, not so sweet. It's Ian's Ultimate Guide to POV. There's a lot more that could be gone into. What I really wanted to focus on were the little words. That, like, Marcus considered going to the store, and like, okay, but if you can't read Marcus's mind, you can't know that he considered that. I know I didn't use the name Marcus, but it's those little words you have to really watch out for. And also pretending that you're writing omniscient when you're actually writing limited, but you really just want to know what's in everyone's head, and you can't do that. With the omniscient ones, the first person, the third person, it's all narrator. Okay? And you've heard this before. You sit around listening to grandma or grandpa tell a story, and they know everything, and they go through it. That's omniscient. That's an omniscient narrator, because they know everything. Grandparents are great, aren't they? We'll call it a day. I hope this video was useful. If it wasn't, I apologize. There are lots of resources online, none of which will tell you about the fifth POV, which is one. That's an Ian Henderson original. Don't you dare tell me that it was invented by someone else before me, because I didn't see it out there. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.